Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
Yes, and we are here with Apocalypse Later. I have to tell you that is one of the hardest words for me to pronounce. It's like cinnamon and synonym. Apocalypse Later. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thank you.
We've got Marshall Quist and Curran Birdwell. We're delighted to talk to you.
Yeah, we're excited too.
Yeah. It's so you. Well, I know you answered some questions for us when the first album came out, when Street Magic came out. But I'm just going to ask you to tell us a little bit about yourselves again, how you kind of get into music production and playing together and all of that.
Yeah, so we actually first played together in high school when we started. My younger brother was our drummer. We were more of a rock band then, which was fun. But then, yeah, we kind of stopped for a couple of years even, and then it was summer after my freshman year of college, Curran and I started on Street Magic, and then that kind of fizzled out. And then the summer of COVID, we came back to it, and that's when that album got finished. But yeah.
I'm always looking for the COVID silver linings, and I knew you had started with I will say a more traditional rock band, sort of a start. And I was thinking, I bet the pandemic did you guys a little bit of a favor getting some of this music finished.
Yeah, definitely did. Yeah.
Because you both do work in other realms too. I mean, you do other music work too. You do production for folks. Am I right about that?
Do some like soundtracks and stuff for people.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't do as much production for other people. It's more. Yeah.
Yes, because you have a lot of your own music out there too, even on. So that's great. So the album that's just come out is Street Illusions, and that came out in August this last summer. Yep. And Street Magic came out in April. That's some bam bam.
Yeah, it's it was kind of cool because Street Illusions is all kind of like alternate or like remixed versions of songs off the Street Magic. So I don't know, that's something that I think I'd like to continue kind of with each album as it goes out. I think it's a cool idea to kind of give new life to everything. Yeah.
Well, and I like the one that I really kind of caught that I enjoyed listening to on Street Magic and Street Magic and Street Illusions was prepaid and then prepaid and pre-tuned. Because the difference in those songs, how did you decide to go in another direction? Tell us a little bit about the transition for those two songs.
Yeah,
Curran,
so the
you probably
first
know more about that one.
Yeah, so the first song we were trying to do just kind of like a Americana ballad, and then we were just kind of throw it off a bit by using kind of weird auto-tune stuff. But then for the second version, I just wanted to strip down and get like back to that kind of ballad that it was in the start.
I have 3 children, so I would never ask somebody, which is your favorite song? Which is your favorite child? But I have to say, I really like the later version of the prepaid and pre-tuned. I like them both, but I like the second one even better because you said it was more, it felt less produced. Less of sort of the production magic in it, and the music really came through. The keyboards on that one, I think I really liked.
Yeah.
And now, what instruments do the two of you play?
So I play primarily guitar and keyboard, and and we both contribute to like making the percussion of the songs. So, yeah.
When you use the logic or the production part, I'm not familiar. Do you pick instruments that you don't play and mess around with it, or do you even pick the instruments that you do play and layer it up?
For me, it's usually, I think everything is either based from like my guitar or my little MIDI keyboard, and then it kind of let you do whatever sound you want. But I don't know. What about you, Kern?
Yeah, well, the first instrument I started playing was the bass guitar, and then from there I wanted to like produce music, so I got some production software, and then I learned how to play some keys, and then just a little bit of guitar too. Yeah, then I mean, a lot of our songs are just like me experimenting with different sounds and trying to figure out what can go well with this. The already song we already have, and then working from there.
I was going to say, I was drawn to the distortion and the reverb ones. I like the fuzzy and unclear because it just kind of makes your mind fill in the gaps of what you want the sound or vibe to be. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's one of the things I like to do is kind of like experiment with the song we already have and then say like, how does this sound unnatural, and kind of go away from like the clean production side of things, since there's already people who can do that way better than us.
Do you usually do it for a vibe you're feeling? Or, I mean, I know you're stripping it and then adding, but do you usually like, I kind of want to go with this vibe or this feeling, or what kind of forms the song, I guess?
Yeah, I would definitely say it starts out with kind of like a vibe, or like a kind of like a genre vibe to it, and then we work from there and we play off that vibe, and then we go against that vibe, and then in the end we have a song.
Nice. It's kind of fun because you don't ever know what you're going to get, I guess, because you just kind of keep adding or subtracting it. It's kind of a surprise for everybody, I would think.
Yeah, and it goes kind of, we send it kind of back and forth between us, kind of working on it independently at a time for most of the tracks.
It seems like you have a lot of use of the soundscape too. And I'm wondering how you collect the different soundscapes and how you decide what to do with them. I think it was something like the Never Thought I Could Stay. It's a mosaic of sounds. It brings you to a lot of different places as you hear it.
Yeah, I think we owe a ton of our sound to Kern's great like cinematic production also.
Yeah, for those like nature sounds, I have like a portable recorder, so I was just walking around over where I live and like through, because I live on Iowa State's campus, so you have kind of the campus sounds, and then you have like the kind of campus town where like the nightlife is, so I walk through there and you have noise, people noise, and then just like a couple blocks over then you have woods. So I kind of collected all those sounds and I've been using them for a while on different pieces. And then,
Oh, you have like your college life wrapped into your album on some level.
yeah, on some level, yeah, I kind of wanted to capture this area because it's pretty interesting how it can change so much just by like walking another block over.
I love the fact that, yeah, you took it organically and didn't necessarily tweak that part of it, but just, yeah, captured it. That is really a cool element. You said you do soundtracks or whatever, is that influencing your music? Or when you're doing it, do you like, oh my gosh, that sound would be cool with this? Or does it inspire some creativity for you, I guess?
Yeah, I do soundtrack for dance pieces because I'm a choreographer, then my girlfriend's a choreographer, so that Never Thought I Could Stay, I think it's called, was one of our duets that we made, and then it got it was videoed by one of our friends, and then had one a couple years ago I did a soundtrack to, and then I'm doing a soundtrack for my girlfriend's piece this year.
Nice. It is a great, I like to hear that it's created through the city. I do a lot of walking through the woods, and there are some days that it's fun to see the deer in the woods, and then some days it's just fun to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's very like yesterday happened to be a day where it was just very acoustically a very interesting day. Visually, but to recognize that the how that sound can take you to so many different places.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the woods aren't often even like, people like to think of them as quiet, but often they're like as loud as the streets that I'm walking on too.
I love that. Well, you could hear the eagles yesterday, and you can hear the trees creak, and it's amazing when you stop to think about it. And it's fun to think of taking some of those soundscapes and creating music from them.
Yeah, most people don't really pay attention to the sound when they're walking on, but if you specifically like, put those sounds on an album, then they have to really see what's there.
It's
Kind of
good.
gives them a new perspective on things.
It's good. I have to ask about .org. The 23 is the number that I think of. I was curious to know a little bit more about the number 23.
Oh, so my songwriting style is mostly just stream of consciousness. So I needed a 3-syllable word, and that was the first thing that popped into my head. And it's and then make the connections after the fact. I don't know. I'll be 23 next year, maybe. Maybe that's what it's about. I don't
You
know.
and me both. How do you work together? Like when do the vocals come in? When do the lyrics come in? How are you able to collaborate? Because you are not in the same town.
Yeah.
I mean,
Vocals,
I understand the idea of sending files here and there, but how do you sort of say, it kind of gets back to Heather's point. Do you start with the vibe? Do you start with a genre, as you said, or which comes first, the lyrics or the tune?
Usually the vocals for us are the very last thing. That's typically how it goes. Like we'll start with maybe like one like little progression or like instrumental part that we're kind of like, oh, I kind of like this, and then build it up from there, and then the vocals be the finishing touch.
Nice.
I have one other question. Just back to, sorry, when you strip the song down and then when you do the remixes, was it ever created because somebody was like added something and then you're like, man, I really wanted it to be whatever, and it kind of created that where you get both versions? Or I don't know, because it's like it would be hard to layer and layer, and then like if you grab some sound, it's like I wanted this to be the emphasis, and then when you were able to strip it back down, you could throw in whatever you wanted to. Is that kind of help that for each of you, just because you keep layering it?
Yeah, like Squares, the version that you would think would be like the remixed version after the original is actually the one that came out first. That was on Street Magic, and then Street Illusions, we brought in the normal version of Squares where we stripped off kind of the reverb, echo, some of the distortion too. So we kind of changed the vibe in that way, yeah. Going back to what we had before.
Yeah, and then I'd say also for like .org to .biz to .org. That was, that's the way it progressed. Because like the guitar parts on .org were in the background of .biz. Like you can kind of hear them if you listen closely, and then I guess in the remix we decided to make those like the main instrumental of the song almost. So it just, I don't know. It's interesting to reimagine stuff that's already been finished.
So then what's next for you guys? If onto album number 3, would you do more reworking of what you have? Would you do something entirely new?
I think with what we've kind of been working on so far, it's going to be completely new, it seems like. you might revisit a couple tracks. I don't know yet, but yeah, we've got a bunch of completely new stuff.
Nice. Nice. Well, that's
What?
fantastic.
Oh, sorry.
So I was just gonna say that's fantastic that the pandemic just jump started you, that you're still I mean, I know we're not out of the woods yet, but but generally we're kind of back to work and back to doing stuff like that, but that you're still working on stuff. That's awesome.
What kind of vibe are you going for this, the next forward of the third working? Do you have some sort of, do you stick with a certain vibe, or do you go from song to song to song?
I think so far we're kind of jumping around all over the place. We have some that are more relaxed and some that are even like harsher and louder than what was on either of the first two. So
Yeah,
just trying to expand it.
I think it's generally more rock so far, less like synthesizer stuff.
I was going to say that your music is such a personal, like, because it takes everybody on their own experience rather than like such heavy lyrics where you're like, here's the story when you do the soundscapey. So it's funny to see what everybody else pulls from it and what you were offering sort of too. So I can see the more chill and relaxed type of thing, but I was like, I don't know if where I'm going with it, if it's where you were too. So I kind of like to hear your version too, but I'll be interested to hear the rockier part too, to see what we get from you on that. You're saying you're sort of stretching yourself a little bit more. How so?
I think just in terms of, at least I personally, we kind of start out working on like separate on ideas and then bring them together, but about like a little before the halfway point of the song probably. And then I've been focusing on trying to do kind of like less typical drum beats, maybe some like more unique or harsh sounds in the song than I would have typically done before. I don't know about you, Curran.
Yeah, definitely. I've been yeah, I've been working with like some more noisy sounds and whatnot too. And
Oh, awesome. It's good. I think you guys have a nice, but I can lean very noisy. I've seen a lot of dark ambient, harsh ambient. You know, I mean, it's if you know, if you've got a metal crate and a jackhammer, you know, and I've seen a lot of stuff like I enjoy it very much, but I also enjoy how you have elements of that, but then bring in the vocals and bring in the keyboard and bring in things that are a more controlled sound than some of the noises. You do a nice job of sort of mashing those up. So it'll be interesting to see if that's if you're pulling even more that direction for this next album. That's fantastic. I will include this in the notes, but for folks who are listening, how can people find you online?
Yeah, we're on our main social media is Instagram at Apocalypse l8er. Or is it? Yeah, l8er is spelled l8er. That's the main thing to note. And then yeah, we're on Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming services you can imagine. We're working on getting a Bandcamp up and running.
Good.
That's a project we still have to do, but yeah.
Good for you. That's good.
How did you come up with the name too? Or what inspired your name? Band name?
The movie Apocalypse Now.
Oh. Makes sense. Makes sense. It is, as Heather says, it's interesting music to listen to. I'd say you hear it differently every day. I mean, as a listener, you hear it differently every day. It's something I would like to listen to while I'm walking in the city. You know, I think it's very much has a soundtrack feel So even visions come as you're listening to it, as you hear that. Think especially with those soundscapes, pick different things out. So yeah, people should take a listen, put it on your headphones while you're going on a walk. So yeah. Marshall Kern, thank you for joining us. It's been a delight to talk to you, and well, we can't wait for the third. I hope, yeah. .biz.org, maybe you'll throw in a .net, just
Yeah.
otherwise all some new stuff.
Gotta get them all.
Get them all. All right. Thanks very much.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.